Welcome everyone to the Real Estate Experience. As always, super excited to have you on these episodes where we're going to be dropping absolute bombs and golden nuggets. Those of you on the YouTube, you know the next steps. Hit that subscribe button so you can be informed moving forward. So today's guest, we have Mark Kenney, who is with Think Multifamily, who owns just over 6,700 units with the valuation over $40 million. And one thing too is we are both twins. I'm a fraternal twin and he is an identical twin. So fraternal is we don't look alike, and identical, of course, is you look alike. So
we look alike now, not as much as we did when we were little, but not as much.
Okay, so welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks, Sterling. We really appreciate you having me for sure.
Yeah, so if you could give the audience some background on yourself, that's ultimately your 5%, I like to say, the pivotal moments in your life that have shaped you to where you are now and has got you into real estate.
No, so one, I'm one of 7 kids. We grew up with, food and a place to live, which is actually more than a lot of people in the world really is, but nothing extra. Anything else I wanted. So at a young age, I was buying my own bikes when I was 10 years old, and shoes and clothes, and remember going, this is not fun as a kid. Then, so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, whatever that really meant. I didn't really have anyone to model that over. And then I went to corporate world, the CPA, did IT consulting, started my own IT business in 2008, but continued to buy. I was buying property since I was 22 years old, small properties. So a long time ago.
Was that single family, small multifamily?
2 to 4 units.
Gotcha.
Yeah, my brother and I. And then my IT business was doing well financially, but the biggest pivotal moment that, propelled me, if you want to say, to get into multifamily, larger multifamily, was that I didn't have any time. I would work, 90 plus hours a week, ignore my wife, just didn't have time, sleep 3 hours a night. And at one point in time, my wife, Tamiel, said that this is not working out. You need to do something different or it's just not going to work out. So thankfully, I listened to that.
So that was the ultimatum.
It was an ultimatum.
Yeah.
And I had a choice. I did. But now we've been married over 25 years, full-time together in the business, and I couldn't be doing it without her.
Okay, awesome. And when you made that transition, was there any limiting beliefs? Because I know you mentioned you started with smaller multifamily. It seems you got the experience to then leverage into the larger deals. But did you have limiting beliefs before you actually got into the industry?
I had a lot of limiting beliefs. My biggest one in reality was I was always driven by money just because of my upbringing. And, your upbringing has a bigger impact on you, but you have choices to make, right? And so money was a big driver. IT business, I was doing pretty well. Had a number of Fortune 100 customers and things like that. And when I started doing larger multifamily, I thought I was going to start doing it. I told my wife, Tamiel, I said, I'm not going to be able to replace my IT income, but we don't need to. I really don't need to in order to have a good life, right? So if I could get my life balanced, now, fast forward where we, have surpassed my IT business, a lot, which is great. That was one. And the other one, I always thought I could probably do it, but I was petrified of raising capital.
Gotcha. You mean asking money from strangers? Yeah. Is that the approach? Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah, and I didn't, and this is no joke. I remember twice in my life asking my dad for money. So obviously, I asked him a second time because I forgot the first time how it went. And so I was petrified even asking him. I really was.
And Mark, do you believe it was the way you thought about it? Because most people they look at it as asking for money versus providing an opportunity.
Yeah. There's no question. And it was just like dire need, right? You just, if you had first deal was like $1 million to raise, which, seemed like a huge amount at the time, which it is. It's a good amount, right? For sure. First deal. But it was the wrong approach. One, anybody, hey, try to get anyone in you can get in that like, trust, and have a relationship with, versus really trying to understand what the investor's looking for. And now on a regular basis, I talk investors out of deals that we have based on what they're looking for. Other deals are a good fit. Some deals aren't.
Gotcha. And you mean from the standpoint, if you're speaking to an investor, you're more buy and hold, you'll ask them the questions to see maybe they're looking for more short term and you're like, this just simply wouldn't be a good fit.
It's a good example. Probably more for us, it comes down to, we've done deals. We do all types of deals. We still do. We bought deals that are 8% occupied, and we closed down a deal a few months ago. It's 46% occupied.
Gotcha.
Right. So as a new investor, I would recommend not going into the 46% occupied. Could you do well? Yeah. I mean, we did a 321 unit deal. We returned money 15 months, 100% of the capital, right? It's hard to do on a nicer building that's 95% occupied. You can still do well, but not typically those returns. But those riskier deals are riskier for a reason, and they could go bad faster than in a deal that's 95% occupied.
Yeah. And what failure did you experience, you would say, in your career that later set you up for success?
I was fairly successful in the IT consulting piece of it, but I had developed some products and spent a very, very large amount of money developing them. And I mean, I got some customers, half a dozen, which is, not much, but they, it wasn't a small price tag. They were pretty good price tag, but still, and we got like, a couple of Fortune 100 companies and things like that. But looking back on that, I was always like, hey, the product's great. And everyone that sees it thinks it's great, but I didn't do any branding or marketing. I didn't really have any. I had one kind of partner that was much bigger than us that was kind of out pushing a little bit. But looking back at it, it's a little bit of a shame because that product was a really, really good product, but
Gotcha.
I didn't push it enough.
Okay, so you're saying your learning experience was if you have a good product and you believe the marketplace needs it, is to put more resources, time, and energy into it?
Yeah, to letting people know about it, really. Like you said, if you have a good product, people need to know about it. And I just kind of felt like, hey, it's a great product. Anyone, like I said, sees it, thinks it's great, but not enough people were seeing it.
Gotcha. So now the approach you take is when you have a deal available, now you're marketing it. And well, that's a whole, we'll actually go to that too, because I really want your insights on personal branding, but want to go more into
Sure.
the belief side of things. What is one more empowering belief that you've essentially been able to bring on in terms of your mindset over the past, let's say, 2 years?
Probably that your life can have a really good balance.
Okay.
Because I never really experienced that my entire career. Before my IT business, I was doing consulting, traveling all over for some of the, kind of big four consulting and then things like that. And I kind of just felt like that's the life. I mean, that's the life I'm living and, make good money. That was the main objective, and be a good father and, be nice to your wife, but I didn't spend enough time with her. So for me, having the balance was something that I really learned. And I had someone that helped me a lot with that over the last year of really trying to put on paper, what do I want if I could write out my day, what would it look like? What would it look like? And I started implementing a lot of those things, and it's quite even small little things, right? And
Gotcha.
now I look at it going, man, I can have all that. I can.
Gotcha. And I want to dig a little bit deeper in there because I hear there's some beliefs out there that say for work-life balance, you have to do 50% of the work and then 50% of the family. How are you able to get those intertwined, or do you keep them separate? How does that work on your side with determining the work-life balance?
I mean, the percentage wise, I don't know, but to me, it's a flexibility. I mean, give you an example. All the kids are online right now with school and things like that because of, COVID. And my son, his Wednesdays are light. He goes to private school, but his Wednesdays are light day. So I took go-karting yesterday
Awesome.
at, 12:30 in the afternoon. So doing those type of things, and we don't always, it's like every day I'm going go-karting with him, right? But my wife took my
That would be
daughter.
fun for him, of course.
I know, yeah. Well, we just bought him one, so he wants to start racing and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, and I'm seeing it's a much more expensive than I anticipated. But $250 for a set of tires, little go karts, and every 2 times you go, you need to change them out or whatever.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So, and then my wife took my daughter to the mall yesterday, and actually was looking online. So I'm like, I wish they wouldn't have gone, but they went and seeing like, oh, charge. But it's doing those things where you have the flexibility. I don't use an alarm clock, at all. And I don't I don't sleep until like 8, 9, 10 o'clock either, but I don't use an alarm clock. I work out 6 days a week because I have, that's important to me. So the balance part is, my biggest thing was after I got into, okay, now it's family time and, work, family, but I never had anything for myself really. And that,
Gotcha.
I felt selfish taking something. I really did. Like, hey, if I do something my own, it's taking time away from either my wife or kids. But working out is a priority for me now. Since COVID, I've been working out at home, which I don't like, but also been running 6 days. So my wife just yesterday, no joke, she said, it's really sad COVID happened, but this is how it got you to start running with me.
Well,
She
there
always
we
wanted me to
go.
run with her, and
Yes.
I'm like, I don't like running, But now I'm doing it 6 days a week now. So.
Yeah, no gyms are open. I know they're going to start phasing that out, and we dated the podcast, but we're okay.
Yeah.
Even when we posted that at a later time, we still could be in it. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, but I think it's really more the balance, is trying to figure out. Like sometimes I'll do something. It's hard to do something in a given day that satisfies everything. Work, yourself, 2 kids, and then my wife. So I will do it pretty regularly. Like, hey, my son, I say, hey, you want to watch a movie tonight? Or my daughter, you want to? She usually was on with her FaceTime with her friends or whatever. But I try to do that too. But like I said, it's one given day to do all those things. It's really, really tough.
I agree. Yeah, I've got a 7-year-old. We're adjusting to the homeschooling too. You could say she's my identical twin with a full head of hair down to her back. And the homeschooling's been quite a adjustment for sure.
Yeah.
So, but if that's at the end of the day, if that's the thing that I could complain about in essence, is I feel blessed at the end of the day.
Yeah,
because everyone's healthy, safe, and well.
So
on that, going to the deals, more interested on that very first one that you put together. Who were your partners? Was it just you were the main general partner, and then you got one investor on board? How did that look for that first deal?
It was myself and one other partner that were both GPs in the deal. So we did that aspect of it. I never really, now we have a whole group where we bring people in and you have multiple people helping each other. I never really knew that concept, if you want to say. We call it family syndication, but one other guy, myself, and then we brought in, I think it was about 16 investors for $1 million raise.
And this was what market was this in? And it was a 4-unit or this?
Dallas. Okay, so this was the first one we syndicated. It was 64 units.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
first
sorry.
one
The very first deal I ever bought was I was 22, and it was a duplex. Or sorry, it was it was a duplex, kind of a 3-unit, but converted into a duplex.
Gotcha.
And that was go ahead.
Yeah, I could say we could focus on the syndication. So in that, was there any lessons on that first one that you put together? Because I feel on the first one I put together, I learned so many things, even though I did the education beforehand and had the experience of other deals. What did you learn from that one that you were able to apply on the other?
Yeah. Oh man, I wish I knew now than what I know now, but we've done like 50 deals, So a couple of main things. One, and especially in a time like right now with COVID, is over raise.
Gotcha.
Raise more money, and we have rules of thumb and things around what you should do on that. But having a little extra cash sitting around, you're going to be a lot better off than trying to stress about it.
Could you share one of those rules that you have?
Yeah. So we working capital for us is like, hey, it's above and beyond your raise. It works out because the 4 months, like 8.3%, but it's basically 8%, right? And then we have another 10% contingency on top of that minimum.
Understood.
So essentially between those two, you can pay for over a year of mortgages, of your mortgage payments, So that's kind of the rule for us. And if you have other deals that are maybe larger, real huge value add deals where you have even a large CapEx, you may even overraise above that, things like that too. But that was one. And we updated our contract too, because we had 64 doors, and when we closed, it was like one vacant, right? But when we closed, there were actually 5 vacant. So seller, didn't disclose that and act like he didn't know. And but we know he did because we saw like an eviction thing in there in August, and then we closed in September. So now our contract's updated to say we get a credit for every vacant unit that's not made ready. And just to put that in perspective, it might not sound like that much, and it's typically not. It's $1,200 to $1,500 a unit, which is okay. But that 46% occupied building I mentioned, it's 568 units. We got a $273,000 credit because, frankly, the seller should have caught that in the contract. But our contract says we'll get a credit for any vacant unit that's not made ready. So 273 grand. Yeah, no joke. I have it actually. I'm doing training tonight on that, and I have that as an example. I'm going to show people like, hey, this is a real settlement statement, the one we just did, and look at this credit we got from learning lessons.
Mm-hmm. And is that just a little nuance on the other person's end that they didn't properly go through the contract that you can leverage at a later point, or you indicated that up front was of course transparent, they still didn't really
no, it's part of our contract. Our standard contract has that, and most sellers will find it, and they'll try to push us down from, let's say, 1,700 to 1,200 or whatever. This particular one with a 46% occupied building, you would have thought they would have said, hey, this is 46% occupied, we're not giving you credit, but they didn't.
Understood. Wow. And so how are you finding deals in today's climate at this moment, Mark?
Yeah, so a lot of people are, hey, I'm going to sit on the sidelines, and I'm not. I think you should look, whether you buy or not, it's up to you, but you should be looking all the time. So for us, it's always been, and still has been, just with broker relationships. We have 3 deals right now, in various stages, and they're all through broker contacts. We personally don't do direct seller and things like that. Not that you can't do that, not that you can't make it work, but we kind of have a track record now where a lot of the brokers know us. They come to us. We have a brokerage firm out of Atlanta. We've done 13 deals in 2 years with them. So they're, we definitely have their attention. So it's all the brokers.
Gotcha. And with that, how do you nurture those relationships? I know, of course, the deals that you've closed on. However, when you had 1 to 2 deals, how are you still able to get the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th? Was it you just had the highest and best, or how did that work on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, I'm trying to think back to where, when we first started 1 or 2, when we first started, it wasn't as competitive. It wasn't.
Understood. Got it. Okay.
Now, people in our group can leverage our track record to help them. But when we go to a new market, it can take us a while. Not as long as it would maybe a person that doesn't have a track record. But we went to Kansas City recently and got a deal there quickly. Atlanta, I looked there for over a year. Probably a year and a half. But I ended up partnering with somebody that was local.
Okay. Understood.
And that helped a lot. And then once you do 1 deal and you do what you say you're going to do, and you're, not a pushover, but you're easy to work with, and there's a big difference. And you don't try to retrade and go back and try to change, the contract unless it's legitimate, right? Then you start building that. We closed, I think, a couple deals in Atlanta area, and then we closed like 4 deals in a matter of like 3 months in Atlanta. So we had brokers reaching out to us on a pretty regular basis because they all talk.
Gotcha. And one thing that Mark mentioned was retrade, which is just another technical term you could say, or nomenclature of for renegotiate. And I would say just a learning experience is, I haven't done it myself, is to not go into a deal to get it under contract, knowing that you are going to have to retrade at a later point. Because if you get that reputation, as Mark mentioned, is that brokers talk, and they won't want to work with you because they know that is your strategy, and they have to go back to the seller and then say, hey, so it's just not good in terms of business practices, I would say.
Right. If there are things you can't see, foundation, plumbing, those are potential legitimate reasons to go retrade, because any buyer is going to find those things. But you want to, you can't go there and say, oh, well, it needs to be painted and the parking lot, I want to retrade now. You should have been able to see all those things when you physically looked at the property.
Yeah, exactly. And on the personal branding with the attracting investors, I see you just about everywhere. So with that, and I know it's not your identical twin. I know it's Mark for sure. And do you and your brother work together?
We don't.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is funny. We did IT business together, and we first started out buying real estate together in our early 20s. And then his wife, and I agree, I understand. She's like, I don't want anything to do with this, because we were both working tons of hours, self-managing, So he got out of it. But I think he was asking me a couple weeks ago about, I might need to start looking at this a little bit further.
Okay, awesome. And so when it comes to you attracting investors, or essentially, do you brand through Mark Kenney, or do you brand through Think Multifamily? Just curious how you navigate that.
Yeah, we're definitely through Think Multifamily, and a lot of the branding, and that was deliberate. I mean, there are two angles to it, right? But we're always like, hey, we want to be able to sustain no matter what. I mean, yeah, pretty much, Tamiel and I are the face of the company, if you want to say, but we have tons of people in our group that contribute tremendously to the company. So it's all through Think Multifamily. My wife Tamiel handles, that was something I undervalued. So when we first started out, hey, we're going to partner together. It took us a little bit to figure out who was going to do what. I'm definitely more working with brokers, CPA background, so more on the technical side, transaction, and the other stuff that she was doing, I undervalued for sure. So I would say that's a lesson learned. Don't undervalue your partner, just because, you think what they do is less value. Now, if they're not contributing, that's something different, right? But Tammy was always the one like, hey, we need to be doing these things. And I was kind of like, but we've engaged people to help us in that area, and she's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah. And when it comes to partners, are you more on the side of partners that have the same skill sets in terms of someone's on sales, someone's on both of you on acquisitions, or are you more of a firm believer that it's focusing on your strengths, finding a partner who complements your weaknesses, and vice versa? What's your philosophy around that?
Yeah, for sure, on your strength, because it's like anything. You're going to be doing, if you do it all on your own, you do a lot of things you don't like to do.
Yeah.
You just are. And I've done that, right? You can do a lot of things that you're probably not really good at. I mean, everyone has they're born a certain way, for one. Then you develop certain skills. I mean, how can two people spend the exact same amount of time, doing the same thing, and one person is way better than the other person?
I agree with that.
Genetics is a lot of things. I work out with a guy that's like, drives me crazy because he's 6'3", 230, and so I'm like 170, right? So, and we're like basically the same strength and everything, and these guys built like I'm like, what in the world? Like, I work
genetics
my butt off, and he's like, using sometimes lighter weights than me. I'm like, what is going on? But it's genetics. So, but it's like that, right? So
you just have to work harder, and
work harder. That's why I'll work him. I'll work him, but he's a hard worker. when he wants to be, right? The days he's working hard. I work hard every day, but he's, if you say, well, I don't want to do that, I'm not good at that, that's okay. I think you still need to understand a lot of the aspects of it. But if you also wait till you're good at everything, you're gonna run out of time. You're gonna be spending too much time trying to get expert in everything.
Yeah. And when it comes to structuring your deals, do you do a preferred return, a straight equity, or?
We do. So typically we've been doing 70-30 split, 70 to investor, 30 to the general partners, with an 8% preferred return, 1.5 to 2%, one-time acquisition fee based on the purchase price.
Gotcha. And that's up front.
That's up front, exactly. And then typically a 1.5% asset management fee. So that's in addition to the property management fee, which will usually range for us 3 to 4%.
Depending on the size of the deal.
That's right.
Gotcha. And with that, have you changed your strategy over the years in terms of maybe the structure or your underwriting?
Structure for sure. Structure, we used to do 80-20 split. That's kind of the way we, if you want to say, grew up, and a lot of people we were originally having invest with us understood that. And then we started getting more and more people outside of these groups, if you want to say, these smaller groups. And they're all like, I won't even look at your deal unless you have a preferred return. So that's what really caused us to start doing that. As a syndicator, I would rather do a straight split without a preferred return. I really would.
I agree. Yeah. Because your preferred returns have to catch up too.
They're accrue.
Okay.
They accrue.
Accrue. That's what I meant. Yes.
Yeah, they do. So, your cash flow is a lot lower in that situation as a syndicator, but actually on the backside, if it performs, you'll do a little bit better. So you have to be patient. But yeah, that's our typical structure.
Understood. And with investors, you mentioned everything is marketed through. So do you have your personal brand too, as you're on social media and all of these as a way to drive traffic to Think Multifamily? Or you mentioned just everything's through Think Multifamily and people are.
We do. I mean, more Facebook wise is more personal, and then we have,
Gotcha.
most of our like other accounts are with Think Multifamily. Most people know it's. I mean, people that know us know that we're the people behind it, if you want to say. We're probably not quite as concerned, and I'm not trying to take away from other people either that feel like they always have to be in the in your face all the time, and it's okay,
Understood.
right? I mean, they're in the all the glitz and glamour, and I like a lot of nice things too. People are like, oh, that
Uh,
person has that. I'm like, well, how do you know that? It's like, well, they told me. I'm like, yeah, that's the difference, right? It's like you can
there you
have
go.
stuff, you don't
Yeah.
have to go around telling everybody what you have, and it's okay, it really is, but that's not who we're trying to attract.
Gotcha. Understood. All right. Well, let's shift to our rapid sharing round. Woo! I did that a little bit. So the first question for you, what is one unusual habit or absurd thing that you love to do?
Absurd, you said?
Yeah, absurd.
I don't know. I'm very, very disciplined on my diet. I know
Okay.
that's absurd, and my wife thinks it's absurd.
Are you a fan of
But
kale?
no, I mean, it's just very, very strict. But
Okay.
it's not vegan or anything. It's just a lot of protein and not much junk or anything like that.
Fair enough. Love it. You eat good, you feel good.
I do.
And what is one common myth that you hear in the, let's say, the multifamily space that you can debunk? One common myth.
One myth I would say, reality, anybody can do it, because actually it's not the case. I mean, if anybody can do it, why isn't everyone that starts it doing it? And it's because they're not really. It's the false perception that you join a gym and you're gonna lose weight. It's not the case,
I agree.
right? If you join a group or you whatever get involved in it, you have to take the action. And a lot of people, frankly, are never gonna take the action.
Yeah. And why do you think that is the case?
I think it's everyone says mindset's number one, which I would tend to agree with, but it's a little bit different than that. I think it's the why. Like for me, I already made good money doing IT consulting, right? So, but I had a big enough why, right? I mean, it was kind of like you said, an ultimatum, right? So if you don't have a big enough why, I'm just trying to do it to test it out, see if I like it. If it's that versus, hey, I want to be able to spend more time with my family, have more flexibility, travel more. So you have to have a big enough why, and a lot of people just don't. I didn't have. I mean, when I was doing IT, my wife was asking me even earlier on, "Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?" I had no. Why would I? I
Understood.
didn't have a reason until she told me that it was that or the highway.
Gotcha. And just going way back, do you feel what has separated you from the people who don't end up doing well and having success in the industry? Do you believe something has been rooted for you in the childhood? Maybe someone that said, "Mark, you're not going to amount to anything," or maybe some people let you down, and you're like, "Well, I don't want to run into that." Is there something rooted from there too?
No, I mean, mine be a little bit opposite. I think my parents, I mean, they were very loving. My mom always was kind of like, "Hey, you can do whatever you want,"
Okay,
but
awesome.
but I had no examples of it. I mean, nobody in my family had any type of real success
Okay,
in business or anything. So I think for me, it was always more just the grit, frankly, and not giving up.
understood.
I mean, my son was like, will always say, how are you so calm all the time? How you, well, it's because years of whatever, right? And reality is most people, they're that close to getting success and they just quit. And my whole
Got it.
thing, we almost gave up. When we first started going to larger multifamily, we spent about a year looking for a property. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. So we're looking at franchises, looking at all these other businesses. So reality is don't give up, but also find somebody, I don't care who it is, find somebody doing what you want to do. But also not just, but you can disagree with me, but you have to like them. Okay. Just
Gotcha.
because you don't want to get somebody that you're trying to partner with or mentor you that's a jerk. And there are a lot of them out there. So I would say find someone that has not just business success, but also treats people, has the same integrity, character that you possess as well. Because if not, you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, and you'll start to emulate that person's habits too, or people will see you're associated with that individual, and that'll also trickle into your reputation too. And I'm a firm believer that, let's say you're looking for mentorship and you're looking to have one-on-one with the individual, that you're still interviewing that person too. If you're
For
out,
sure.
if you're out for lunch or so, and that person is treating the waiter negatively, then that's a good indication of that person's interpersonal skills. So,
That's
yeah,
I mean, we couldn't say it better because we experienced. I had a mentor just like that. Treats everybody rude. He goes, I mean, it's.
I did too.
You did okay.
Yeah,
So, reality is it's a pride thing. They think they're better than everybody, and it's insecurity.
understood. And the last question, which will go a little bit deep, is why do you believe we're here on this earth?
I'm a Christian, so I firmly believe that God put us here. He put us each here with a purpose. It's really to get more people into His kingdom. And actually, funny enough, or maybe not funny enough, my wife and I were talking about this just yesterday, because all the stuff going on, and that we all get caught. I shouldn't say I get caught up in business, family, and things like that, and I forget what our biggest purpose is here on earth, and I don't always do that. So there's no question in my mind, personal perspective, it's to get to help people that are in need,
Hmm.
even though like the Bible says, but to also teach people, and it's not our job to save people, but it's our job to at least tell them. Just like it's not our job to make people invest in our deals, it's our job to present it to them, and then they can make their own decision. Same with with faith.
Love it. Dropping bombs, Mark. Love it. Love it. How can people find you?
Probably best way is email. It's Mark, MARK, at thinkmultifamily.com.
Okay. Any social media as well, Mark?
Yeah, we're on Facebook, Twitter, on everything. So yeah, and then our website has a bunch of the stuff on there as well, which is just thinkmultifamily.com.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for being on the show, Mark.
Thank you, Sterling. I really appreciate it.
And those of you, don't forget, that are on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and on the iTunes and Stitcher, SoundCloud, all those, leave that 5-star rating, would mean the world. Thank you so much, everyone. Keep being awesome human beings. Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Experience. If this has brought you any value, please subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. It would mean the world to me. Now go out there and crush it.